Now, joining us is Mohamad Elmasry, who's chair of the journalism program at the Doha Graduate Institute. Thank you so much for being with us again today. Of course, we think we know what the result is going to be, but the turnout figures is what we're really waiting for. Do you think Egyptians would have gone out to vote these past 3 days if they know what the result is going to be anyway?
Well, it's interesting because the government has sort of been pulling out all the stops to try to get people to go and vote, right? They've threatened fines. Several government-owned corporations have threatened to dock paychecks in April, including Egypt Air, the state-owned airline. Police officers have been going door to door in some of the governorates and sort of encouraging people to go vote. They've been paying people between $3 and $9 to vote. They've been offering food rations to people who show proof that they voted. So clearly the government is obsessed with this final voter turnout
They're
figure.
very nervous about the turnout.
They
If
are.
Sisi gets less than the 48% turnout that he got in the past election, how big of a blow would that be to him?
You know, I think it'd be a big blow. He's looking for sort of a popular mandate to sort of legitimate his rule, right, and cement his popularity, and also cement his efforts to probably go for a third term, to amend the Constitution and then go for a third term. So if he comes out with, say, I don't know, 30% or 35% voter turnout, that's really bad optics in front of the Egyptian population. I think it'd be pretty bad news. Now, having said that, what are people really going to do? I mean, it's not as though there's a democratic process in Egypt that people can participate in. It's not as though people can go into the streets and protest. People who have done that have been either killed en masse or arrested en masse.
He has emphasized security and stability in his first term and has done so again throughout this campaign, saying that he's the man that will bring back stability and security to Egypt. Is that what matters to Egyptians today? What do you see his challenges ahead in the next 4 years? What is he going to have to deal with, and what do Egyptians want from the president? Right.
Well, there's no question, first of all, that Egypt does face a problem with terrorism, right? We've seen hundreds of attacks carried out in the last few years.
Right.
So that is one of Sisi's primary challenges. The problem is that Sisi's counterterrorism strategies haven't seemed to work. In fact, Egypt is suffering from greater levels of instability now than it has at any point in its modern history. In terms of his other challenges, I think the other big one is economic. UNICEF says that close to 30% of Egyptians live in poverty, and about 10 million children live in poverty. The country has been ravaged by skyrocketing inflation. It's making life very difficult for the common Egyptian to just make ends meet. So that's going to be his major challenge going forward.
Now, we've discussed the failures of these past 4 years at length, these past 3 days as the voting has been happening in Egypt. But has it all been negative, Mohamad Elmasry? Is there something positive out of this 4-year Sisi term, this past one?
Well, look, Sisi has been able to improve some of the macroeconomic indicators on the national economy. So, for instance, GDP has gone up. Egypt's foreign reserves have gone up from $19 billion to about $42 billion. Now, there are some sort of structural explanations for that, and it goes back to the IMF loan, and it relates to the inflation problem.
Right.
So that's not necessarily all positive news. But if you're asking for something positive, I guess that would be the one thing that I could point to. Unfortunately, Egypt has regressed significantly socially, politically, and economically in the last few years. So there isn't a lot that we can point to.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. Mohamad Elmasry of the Doha Institute of Graduate Studies joining us here on the NewsGrid. Well, let's now take a look at the conversation online. Andrew Chappelle, our social media producer,